Hello and welcome to Bonus Action Dash. My name is Jaren and this is D&D 5e prep. This is my Sunday prep for my Sunday night game, actual D&D prep for my actual game that I'm going to play and run in about 2 hours. I'm running the 5th edition adventure Rime of the Frostmaiden, and we are entering into session 46. Party has made it to Ithrin, and we have completed one of the 8 towers. Technically, we've completed 2 of 8. Because they encountered one back in the Caves of Hunger. So before I get into that, a little disclaimer as always. Well, first of all, I hopefully corrected some audio issues that I was having last time. I was notified in chat that sometimes I'm a little bit far away from the microphone in the voice clips. So I'm going to make sure to stay in this zone here. And also, I'm playing around with some filters. I took off the noise filter. I think my apartment's quiet enough that won't be an issue. But as always, a bit of a disclaimer. First of all, if you are new to this channel, new to seeing behind the curtain of D&D prep, we're going to go through this in about an hour, but a lot of my prep is done ahead of time, not as far as note-taking is concerned, but a lot of it is me thinking about the game. Pretty much not a day goes by that I don't think about this campaign, the next session, things I want to try out, ways that I could make the story work. So by the time I'm sitting down here on Sunday nights to take notes, a lot of the hard work's been done, and this is just me taking notes. So I don't want to give the impression that I only spend an hour to prepare for my 3.5-hour game. That said, I think this could be really useful for folks who are maybe running this adventure or just curious to see what goes on into a D&D prep. So I'm sure by now it's 2022. You've seen D&D. There's just an infinite number of D&D live streams where you can watch what D&D looks like. So maybe this is a different sort of a thing for you to see what goes on into prepping those sorts of sessions. So to recap where we are last time, let's get into it, shall we? Last time, we picked up with right after the party had completed the Tower of Abjuration. They exited out and fought a tomb tapper kind of in this region here, which is right next to the prison district. So we began right after that fight concluded. I thought the party was going to try to find some place to rest, but the troopers that they pressed on. They made their way through the prison district. Who is messaging me? They made their way through the prison district, and they did not decide to investigate and stop and see what was in here. They did find out that, this entrance to the spire, this really cool looking arm, I guess it is also, it's got a locked door and is also protected by the same invisible barrier that protects the central portion of the tower. That invisible barrier that has to be broken. I don't think yet the party knows. I don't know that they've heard the phrase, the rite of the arcane octad, but they know they have to go visit the 8 towers, because once they touch that invisible barrier, they saw 8 symbols to the schools of magic, kind of like an after image touching a force field that kind of radiates out like a ripple in a pond. So they know that they need to go to the 8 towers. I don't think they know exactly what for yet. Right now, they're under the impression that they have to go disable these towers, and that's kind of my fault, because back when they went to the first Tower of Illusion in the Reggae Glacier in the Caves of Hunger, which I replaced that Drow Tower with the Tower of Illusion, they noticed that glyph, that symbol that designated the Tower of Illusion, was not illuminated, whereas the ones here are. So I think they're under the impression that they have to deactivate these towers, even though the clues shouldn't really suggest that, because they still had to go beat that tower. And now that they have completed the Tower of Abjuration, that glyph is still lit up. So the clues really shouldn't add up, but that's kind of what they think right now. So they have 2 of the 8 clues, the 2 of the 8 steps. They know they have to shield their face. They know they have to get a wand of the Nether Oak, which they don't know what that is yet, but they're probably going to find out real soon. So we ended with them going to the Tower of Conjuration. That was this nifty tower here, where they found this puzzle with the familiar, and they had to go and figure out the sequence of the code. One of them stepped through the door and they made their way into this second floor that had the ice devil trapped in the magic circle. They found the magical tower. I forget what spell it is, but it's it's that magical tower that's got an infinite number of rooms and all that stuff. That they have a feast and a servant, and you know, it's where they got the long rest. They were able to ask that servant about the High Archmage, the High Conjurer of the tower. What happened to him? Why did he summon this ice devil? They took a rest there. In the middle of the night, this was really cool. I gave a vision to Jack Forrest, who conveniently, Jack is our party's Warforged fighter. He kind of goes into this sentry mode. Does not require sleep. He just kind of goes into sentry watch mode for about 4 hours. So he was bunking up with Valin Harpel, who's been traveling with the party for quite some time. And it was during the middle of the night. I gave him a vision. Basically, it was kind of hoping to explain his place in the world of Netheril. A while ago, I had alluded to the fact that these Netherese weren't exactly Warforged, but they would use constructs like Warforged to go and mine Chardalyn, and that kind of helped explain Jack's backstory a little bit. So I had him have a vision of being in Aetherin before it fell, in line with, you know, about 1,000 of these other constructs going down to mine Chardalyn. And I gave him the vision. He got to watch the city fall as an explosion erupted from the Spire of Ariel Arthas, causing a bunch of magic to fail, but the buildings were still remain intact. It's kind of, I'm not trying to force feed them the story, but I'm just trying to slowly give it to them in pieces so it's not a big confusing mess. And it was during that vision that Valin had failed her check for the Arcane Blight. She now distrusts the party. She said it's time to go. During that vision, she left and forcefully ripped out Professor Scant from the chest of Jack Forrest. So now the party is missing Valin and Professor Scant, who was a very useful source of information. I think where Valin might be headed next is probably the library, maybe the towers, but I don't want to have her complete towers for the party. You know, maybe that's an option just if I need to. And the party woke to find Valin and Scant missing, and it was then that they finished business with this ice devil. Our cleric Gwendrel used, I think he ended up using banishment twice. Once was to try and banish the ice devil against his will. He was really convinced that Avarice is going to show back up, even though Avarice is kind of taken out of the picture by Aurel at this point. So the first banishment was against his will. He resisted. Gwen had to intimidate the heck out of this thing. Banishment a second time, and he reluctantly accepted going back to the Nine Hells, facing his fate. Since it was either get killed by the party, be trapped in this ice circle forever, this magic circle forever, or go back to the Nine Hells with the tail between the legs kind of thing. And because the Intimidate was a successful roll, he just sort of reluctantly decided to go back. And that's where we ended. So today, and the party did find out some information about, let's go to the big map here. Here we are. They did find out about the existence of the menagerie. There was an allusion to the High Conjurer, as he was probably one that was responsible for the construction of the menagerie, and folks would go there and have these weird combination of animals. So the party talked about wanting to go there. In addition to, I had to remind players that they could literally go to anywhere in Netheril, in Aetherin, and not to feel like they as players had to only find the towers, right? And remind them that their characters probably want to go do other things. And I, the DM, pulling back the curtain, I've got stuff ready to go no matter what they do. They could go to virtually anywhere here, and I probably have something for them, or at least I'm going to try. So I had to remind them of that. But I think the next places they might possibly go, we're basically looking at, whoops, let's not move this around. Everything which is kind of in this upper quadrant here. They just completed the Tower of Conjuration. The most immediate buildings are the House of the Arcane, which is basically a big auditorium that's got a magic cup in it, Kind of alludes to the 8 schools of magic. That's theater of the mind thing. That's not particularly difficult. There's no baddies in there. It's just a place to go maybe get a charm. And if I remember correctly, I don't think the book says anything if you can take this cup out of here. I'm going to say that it's got to stay within the House of the Arcane. From a narrative standpoint, from a historical canon standpoint, this is the location that Wizards of Ythrun would go to find out which of the 8 towers they would go and study. What would their specialization in magic be? So that's how this fits into Ythrun. This is like, you know, it's like taking your first 2 years of generals in college, and then when you decide what your major is, then you go off to one of these different towers. To the left is the library, and I am really looking forward to if they go in here. It's a really cool location. There's doors open, and they can go and inspect it. Maybe they'll go there because they think Valen might go there. In fact, that might be a way that I could not force them to go there, but entice them to go there. Because if they do, it is going to be some fun times. I have some things prepared. I have one is this sort of card image that I'm just going to show. Maybe I'll move that over to a... Put that over here, maybe. Let's see if I save that somewhere. Because I think it might be better if I had it as something I could just pop up instead of move them to on a map. So that way they always had access to it. Let me see if I saved that somewhere. Okay, I did. So let's make a new handout. And put this over here. Oh, it might be too big. Oh, good. No. Sometimes Roll20 doesn't like really big files. It's small enough, fortunately. So we're going to call this Ythrun Library. And right now it's just going to be in mine because I need to show it to them. I'm going to go here. Yeah, I think that'll be better. And then we have... This is another map I just found on the internet. ForgottenAdventures.net. So go and check them out. I just searched for D&D 5e library encounter map, I guess. But this is where they could encounter the Arcanoloth, Scrivenscry, and his awakened giant penguin, Kingsport. This is a really cool side quest. They might opt to completely ignore it, or they might opt to go and try and save Kingsport. The reason this is such a cool encounter is because Scrivenscry, the Arcanoloth, is no joke. These suckers are pretty interesting to encounter. They are high-level wizards at a reasonable AC. The scary part is the things that they have access to. Their spells. As an action, they can just teleport. They can... I think there was something... Yeah, they've got Alter Self at will, Darkness at will, Heat Metal, Invisibility, Magic Missile. But they have access to some really high-level spells. Finger of Death is crazy. Chain Lightning is crazy. It's a really powerful AoE that will hit basically the entire party. Hold Monster, Banishment. These are all really scary spells for a party. It's going to really put them to the test. And I'm looking forward to it because this is meant to be a dangerous place. And also, if they decide that they're going to take on Scrivenscry, they might have an ally in Kingsport. This really cute giant penguin guy. Isn't that cute? So that is one location they might go to today. I'm going to put this as my possible scenes. Library. We also have... so the House of the Arcane is another one. We got... they might pass by the Arboretum. This is where they can get access to the Nether Wand. I'll put that on there. I have that map ready to go as well. And this is really interesting because they have to either diplomatically or stealthily make their way into the arboretum and not disrupt this living tree, and either break off a piece of the tree stealthily or convince him to give him a piece. And if it's a fail, if they don't do it successfully, then they fight a tree ant. Tree ants are pretty sweet. They can awaken another tree, and they also fight these needle blights. Let's just while we're doing this, let's pull this up too, just so I can take a look. What number is this? That's 10. Right, so they either need to make a DC 20 stealth check, or if they fail that, they wake it up, or they can make a DC 15 persuasion check if they believe they intend to perform nefarious magic with it, which that's not what the party's all about. The Nether Oak is easily angered, uproots itself if driven to combat. 4 needle blights join in the fight. So that'll be fun. They could also go to, they're going to pass by the Wellspring of Answers, maybe. I've already foreshadowed this, and one of our characters, Sarah Gretz, who is our wizard, has a good reason to go there. She communicated with the telepathic pentacle already. There was a little tiny bit of latent magic in a fountain that they found on their way to Ethrin. So if they get close enough, that group's going to call out to her again and entice her to go and have a little chit-chat, and then they'll fight whatever's down there. I don't think it's likely. I think if anything, they're going to go around sort of this way. So I think I'm going to focus on this stuff here. We'll do this last, just in case. So 18 is nothing. This was a different tower that was replaced with the Ethrin Towers expanded. So this is simply a ruined building. I'm not going to do anything for this. The Hall of Silk, I don't quite remember what's here, so let's review it. I know it's basically a series of stalls, because this is sort of the shopping district. This is the Bazaar of the Bazaar. There are Magian guards and face spiders. Okay, so I probably need to grab a map. Let's see if I have anything saved. Anything that would kind of work for this? I think I'm already using one of these. I made a map for the bazaar. Yeah, I'm already using... Is that this one? Oh, it's a different one. That might work, though. Courtesy of Reddit user Simple Rye 2 years ago. Patreon.com/dungeonmapster. Gotta give credit. Let's use that one. Why not? I do want to have it just in case. And it said what? 4 face spiders? Ooh, that could be fun. 4 face spiders and 5 Magian. 5 Galvan Magian. These are what? Oh, these are the flying ones. Okay, yeah. Map. If you've not used Roll20 and are confused what I'm doing here, I'm basically putting this on. There are 3 layers in Roll20. You have a map and background, which is things that your players can see. It's where you put all this stuff and where you align things to a grid, but players can't mess with it. Objects and tokens is things that your players can screw with. It's where you put their tokens. It's where you put all your NPC tokens. And then GM info overlay is a secret layer that only you get to see as the GM that players cannot see and they can't mess with because they can't see it. So I'm putting this on the map layer and I'm going to try my best. Yeah, that map will work. It's fine. It's a little low res, but it's whatever. Three. What? Oh, this is not enough. I got to do this again. Can't see 3 grid squares. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, that looks good. Now, let's grab some tokens. Can exclude Valen this time. I'm not going to bother doing dynamic lighting for this map. And now I need... Where are my tokens? I need face spiders and Galvan Magian. I think face spiders are probably down here. They're a little bit bigger. Did it say specifically where they're supposed to be? Inside the store, 5 Galvan Magian watch over the rest of the merchandise. Face spiders lurk in the rafters. Do these actually fight? Oh, otherwise non-threatening. So maybe I don't really need to have this ready, but just in case. So we'll say that these are kind of spread out. Maybe one here. One here. But these Magian are going to be standing guard. 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, that looks good. I guess the other question, is there actually stuff in here? Are there any items that the party could get? Is there any reason that they would want to go here? So there is an illusion. Silksmith Mixel. Silksmith Myzil. I don't know how you're supposed to say that. Myzil sounds good to me. Okay, so this is kind of cool. As it speaks, the face spiders descend silently and use their legs to take the creature's measurements before spinning the creature in a tailor-made robe. As the robe is being fashioned, Myzil urges its guest to imagine any image your heart desires. The spiders can, in the 10 minutes it takes to create the robe, spin any illusory design or effect into the garment. On completion, they drape the robe over the creature's shoulders and ascend back to their lair. Each guest can gain this benefit only once. These robes are worth 250 gold. They can find 10 other silk robes that are on display that weren't damaged. Okay, so this is mainly an RP section. I probably didn't need to go and make this map, but, you know, we've got it just in case now. So where else might they go? That was the Hall of Silk. The Bazaar of the Bazaar is the other location that I had ready to go, and I'm kind of tying it to the Menagerie. If they go to the Menagerie first, I suppose they could make a creature which will basically have part of a piece of cloth, which is a torn cloak that belonged to an NPC in Sarah Grit's backstory, somebody named Esther, who they have not checked on in a long time. Esther came down here with the Dizan Simulacrum, and this little Menagerie creature is going to find part of that robe and dash in the Bazaar of the Bazaar. And if they don't go there first, and I guess that cloth can just be in the Bazaar to begin with, which gives them a good reason to actually go there and kind of tie some things together. The Bazaar, I think the only thing they fight here is this Golem and a few Nothics. This will just mainly be a pretty straightforward encounter. Which I am going to be using. This, I'm not using the by-the-book Nothic because they're really super weak, and I've already kind of portrayed them as being a bit stronger than that. So I'm using this better Nothic I found on GM Binder. We'll see how it works. These seem way stronger because they have a few things that they can do. Is there any way to zoom in here? I guess there we go. Because they start with Ravaging Gaze, which is a good chunk of damage on a DC 14, and they have disadvantage on the next save. Next round, they cast Confusion, which is a save, and they try to just keep them at a distance and keep hitting them with things like Confusion and Phantasmal Killer and Tasha's Mind Whip. And more Ravaging Gazes. So I think these Nothics are going to be pretty nasty. We'll see how it goes. If you've watched any of the past streams, you might notice I am doing this a little bit differently because Ithrin is a very self-contained, gigantic map, and the players could really go anywhere. I don't think it's likely they're going to take a sudden right turn and say, you know what, we're not doing any of the things that we're immediately by. We're going to go on the other side of the map and do some other things. You know, that doesn't make any sense. But that said, they can really do anything here. And the secrets they're going to find are going to kind of come naturally, and they're going to come from the Ithrin lore table. The story here is really self-contained, so there's not a lot of... I'm not going to be doing a lot of new secrets and clues here. I'm mainly just prepping for encounters I think they're gonna come across. I'm wondering if they're gonna get to any of these towers. The two that they might possibly go to, the two that are in this area, is Divination and Necromancy. Now, I think I do need to... I don't know if I've got a map for the Wellspring of Answers. That might have came in the event here pack. Let me check real quick. I think it did, actually. Yeah. Let's go ahead and add... Oops. Let's add this. Shouldn't take very long to do this really quick. Because I haven't done this yet, and I think we should probably get that in there. 30 by 30. And then we'll go in and take a look at the two towers. This is another encounter that doesn't really have anything to do with progressing the story forward, but it is a really creepy thing. It helps tell the story of Ithrin. You know, there were these groups of mages, the telepathic pentacle, that tried to combine their consciousness to, you know, achieve some higher magical thing, and it didn't exactly go correctly because they basically just fused their heads together, and now they exist as this five-headed amalgamation that lives at the bottom of the well, which we'll get to as soon as this finishes uploading. It's a really big file. Yeah, no, it's just a big file. I don't think I'm not quite running out of space on my Roll20 account yet. And then this is what? 30 by 30. Okay. So we should just be able to now size this to the page. Because Eventure was really good when they made these gridded maps, and they told you. Maybe not. Let's just do this. I'll just use the thing. I'll use the tool. Two, three, 1, 2, and 3. Oh, did I make it too big? It did. Wait a sec. No, I just didn't have it. I didn't have it moved over all the way. This is Wellspring of Answers. Okay, now I need to add some tokens. What did I use? I used the hider stat block. Oh shit. Okay, this thing hits pretty hard. So it's a 5-headed thing that makes as many bites as it has a head. So it makes 5 attacks. Yikes. At +8, it doesn't really deal that much damage, so that's probably its saving grace, I suppose. While it has more than one head, the hider has advantage on saves against being blinded, charmed, deafened, frightened, stunned, and knocked unconscious. Advantage on saves against being knocked unconscious. Okay, that's a strange one. Whenever the hider takes 25 or more damage in a single turn, one of its heads dies. If all of its head die, the hider dies. Okay? At the end of its turn, it grows 2 heads for each of the heads that died since its last turn, unless it has taken fire damage since its last turn. Regains 10 HP for each head regrown in this way. So, if it takes 25 or more damage in one turn, a head dies. Wow, that's a brutal fight. For each head it has beyond 1, it gets an extra reaction that can only be used for opportunity attacks. That's pretty nasty. I think the way this reads is that it can't have more than 5 heads. I think it's saying it sets the cap at having 5 heads. If it takes more than 25 damage in a single turn, a head dies. At the end of its turn, it grows 2 heads for each of the head that died since its last turn. That is a nasty fight. I'm wondering if I've got any tokens that will work here. Unless it just intends for me to use a Hydra token here. I think it is, yeah. Well, that's what we're using since I don't have a token that represents 5 bodies fused together. So let's also grab this garbage, my player tokens. I'm not calling my players garbage. Sometimes you run out of words. Let's put this out of the way. And you know what? Let's also, while we're here, since I always forget to do this ahead of time, I'll do it now. And that's to roll initiative for these stupid things. And I got a 9. So we'll put that. I'll just put it here. Initiative 9. I don't think I want it there. I think I want it in GM notes. Okay, I think we're good now. I think what I wanted to review is the towers. And the towers that we have to take a look at is Divination and Necromancy. Divination is a very, very cool tower where they enter in and they see this very cool space-like setup on the floor. I might be able to show some of the stuff. No, we'll just show the map here. But if I remember correctly, the way that this works is after they fight these Magian and clear them from protecting the tower, they find this depiction of these celestial bodies on the floor here. Yeah, on the floor, and it as like a starry depiction overhead. But each one of these bodies they'll recognize as the sun in the top right, Saloon, which is one that our cleric, who is a worshiper of Saloon, will definitely recognize. This one off here is Toril. We have Koliar, which I don't know anything about, and Carpri, which I also know nothing about. But each one of these bodies does something different. Once they touch Toril, for example, they gain the benefit of Stone Skin for a minute. Saloon gives them the benefits of both a jump and Longstrider spell. Touching the sun causes a fireball to be cast centered on itself at the beginning of the next turn of the character that touched it. So all these are useful in some strategic way. They each kind of give a benefit. The way that they're going to be used is after a player... Where is it? Is this to do with a second? Oh, no. The second story is the one that's got the slot in it. But the first story, once somebody looks up at the sky, they get a vision of Nothics coming and storming the tower. And they realize that they have seconds before this occurs. It's a tower of divination, so they're getting a vision of the future, like a divine vision of the future. And they can use these planets in a cool strategic way. These Nothics sort of come in waves. And this one I might not use. This might be a bit strong to use the better Nothics for this one. We'll see. Not sure yet. The second story, I need to review this one because I don't know that I've read this all the way. This might be... Yes, it's they meet this green slod, and he is looking for help finding his spell book. And in the spell book is the third part of the arcane octad. Um, right. So this green slot is a high diviner Apius. Who she has been stuck here apparently, and is looking for her spell book. It could be in one of three places. It could be. We can kind of put it where we want. I think the idea is we use the characters try and help her find the spell book as ways to further go and explore Ithrin. So it could be either like in the branches of another oak, teetering on the edge of the pit of the wellspring of answers, mixed in the rubble of the bazaar, and they can find this out by using the telescope. It's a powerful arcane artifact that's an enhanced arcane eye, basically. And so they can hopefully find where the spellbook is, and that will get them number 3. So the fight isn't the thing. It's just a cool thing here. Let me review something else really quickly here, because I think the things on the second story are a little different. Oh, this is where it leads up. This is where this staircase leads us here. Okay. The other tower is probably my favorite one. That's the Tower of Necromancy. This one's really cool. This is where we encounter the coolest NPC from the Towers of Ithrin. That is an NPC called Lawrence. Lawrence is a brain in the jar. Lawrence is a bit crazy because his master, the High Necromancer, Necromancer Katavix, is no longer alive. Lawrence isn't convinced that he's dead. Lawrence becomes agitated if the players try to bring it up and convince him that he's dead. Lawrence is a brain in the jar that draws, with Mage Hand, draws his expression on the jar and uses a set of Mage Hands to put a lab coat over a chair to make it look like he's wearing it. And it's really amusing. And what can happen here, I think the way that this one works, if I remember correctly, is once they go to the second story. Oh, maybe this is in the first one. I know this has something to do with Katavix's soul is trapped in an emerald. This might be on the second story in Katavix's quarters. His soul is trapped in an emerald that he used with part of a magic jar spell once Ithrin was crashing. So his body's kind of not really usable anymore. But he wants to get out and try to find something to help him cast Raise Dead, basically. So the soul will try to take over the body of one of the parties, and say like, "Hey, let's go find a diamond so I can raise my body." And then I think he's trying to find. Yeah, he would want to. He's gonna be with the party until they help him find High Enchanter Elvira. In this, Ithrin Towers expanded a romantic interest of High Necromancer Katavix. Enchantress. So the Tower of Enchantment, and once they do that, once they help him find her, then that's when he gives him the line, which is the 7th line of the Octad. And this one is also, I don't think they're going to go there anytime soon. This will be in a session or two. This one's kind of depressing because her body has been taken over by an Oblex. And so it's kind of a tragic end, but, is what it is. just for reference, where is enchantment? I don't remember where the enchantment tower is. Location, obelisk. Oh yeah, no, it's clear on the other side of Ithrin. They're not going there anytime soon. I suppose the other location is just the theater, which I think what I'm going to do, since I didn't use the Tower of Illusion from the Towers Expanded as it's written, I did something else. Maybe I'll just use, because the Tower of Illusion also, if you do it as the Towers Expanded says, is to replace the theater and use this stuff there, I think. But I didn't do that, so I think I might use the stuff that's in the Tower of Illusion in the theater, because they're very similar, but I like this version better. And it's basically a roleplay opportunity to kind of like successfully read through this production, this short little play, and they can, you know, get some bonuses and get some rewards and stuff for it. Maybe they get like a small magic item. So that's what I'm gonna do for the theater. Anything else that I need to make sure I've got ready to go? I'm so glad I don't have to worry about Valin's spell list anymore. That was starting to get a little annoying. Which I don't. If you're running this, I don't recommend having one of these NPCs follow the party for very long, or if you're going to, like, don't have them be in combat, because it's kind of a pain. What else? I don't think there's really any treasure other than what's written in the tower locations. I do need to start thinking about tying Esther and Dazan into this. What I'm imagining is, so just to recap, so we've got 4 players. We've got, let's do that last, I guess. We've got Marza's Romazi, who is our tiefling barbarian. Is kind of the mom of the group, and is very attached to her battle axe. Jack Forrest is our Warforged Echo Knight fighter, and has been making very good use of the Echo Knight, and is maybe thinking about Ithrin as a possible learning about himself and his origins. Gwendrel is our Twilight Cleric of Saloon, also a tiefling. I now see why, having run this group for over a year now, I see why people don't really want to have Twilight Clerics in their group. It's not that they're broken or overpowered, but like it makes it really hard to balance encounters when they just have that aura vitality up and are just giving away bonus HP all the time. And then lastly, Sarah Gritz is our human wizard, Wizard of the Scribes, and she has an NPC friend of hers, a fellow student, who's also a Wizard of the Scribes, named Esther, she's been kind of with the adventure for a while. The party unfortunately did not check in with her before they left for the glacier, and it's been a while. She had ties to Dazan. The party a long time ago, when they saw Dazan getting burned at the stake and not really reacting to it, had some suspicions about what was up. And then also once they found the simulacrum down at the tower, the Lost Spire, were really then like, maybe that Dazan we saw get burned was also a simulacrum. They haven't come back to that since then. This was in East Haven the first time they went there, which was probably around like, you know, a good 30 sessions ago, maybe almost a year ago. And they have not really revisited that. I knew back then I wanted to lean into that and have Dazan come back in the end game. And I really need to start thinking about how that's getting tied together, because I plan on them encountering Dazan at the obelisk. He came down here because he, doing his research, knew that this existed, knew that it could possibly go back in time, So wanted to do the super greedy thing of go back in time and do it better than Karsus did. Karsus tried to steal the powers of Mystra and failed. Dazan takes it upon himself to learn from the past mistakes and correct them and gain access to this knowledge that gods have and that is beyond 9th level spellcasting and really tap himself into the weave. That's what he wants to do anyways. Made his way to Ithrin, found out that he couldn't really get to the Mythalar, and instead said, screw it, let's go straight for the obelisk. We'll find a way to figure it out. Finding out that he needed the Staff of Power, then kind of sent Esther on a hunt. Esther brought the spellbook back to Dazan. That the players, this was kind of funny, the players helped out the simulacrum design, which they made real at the rune chamber. Went and got him a spellbook. And then that Dazan and Esther answered the call and brought that spellbook to the real Dazan, who was going to Ithrin. Knowing that he needed to somehow get into the Tower of Iriel Arthas to get his Staff of Power, Dazan sent Esther, basically, and, cast Fly on her. She's probably going to be somewhere in the upper reaches of the Spire. But once the party reaches Dazan, knowing that he's an illusion wizard, I thought it would be really cool if he conjured an illusion to make it look like Esther, like she was just kind of there and blank-eyed, to kind of hold the party ransom, saying like, hey, help me find the staff, or else, I have one of your friends here. So that's kind of how I'm tying all that stuff together. And I, at some point, need to start thinking about that encounter. It's going to be... I think I'm going to use like a modified Archmage stat list. They can do some crazy shit, but I don't think I want to have it just be the Dazan as written, because he's a little underpowered for where the party's at. But also it's going to be Simulacrum Dazan and the white bodyguard in that encounter. So that'll be an interesting one. I think that's probably going to do it. We've hit about an hour, and I feel pretty good about this session. I'm curious to see what happens. The party really could go anywhere, and I am prepared for whatever happens. So many things that they could do here, and I'm ready for all of them. We'll see what happens. So thank you if you're tuning in on Twitch Live right now. If you are watching this on as a VOD, thanks for checking my channel out as well. I do this every Sundays, 5 p.m. Central to about 6. This is my actual prep for my actual game. I'll be running this in about an hour from now. I'm going to give my voice a break because I've just been talking my ass off for the last hour. We'll also soon be starting a... We'll be hopping onto Instagram. If you want to find me on Instagram at... I think it's bonus action dash, but they are dashes in between all those words, I think is what we've got. Let me just double check this. I just made this last night. Oh no, it's underscore. So we got bonus action dash underscores between the words on Instagram. We'll be doing more off the cuff things. We'll be talking from the heart, what this game means to me. We'll be talking about my thoughts on the game, ideas on mechanics, opinions on mechanics, stuff like that. Less scheduled. So check out this channel. You know, I'm here, twitch.tv/bonusactiondash, as well as soon to be on Instagram, bonus_action_dash. And soon I'll start having these VODs up on YouTube as well, so you can find me there also. So thank you for checking this out. I'm going to shut this off now because I am running out of voice. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.